When you're a busy mom, self-care feels impossible. I totally get it. It's honestly something that I have struggled with for years. But in this video, I get to speak with Daniela Wolfe of Bestie Life, and she gives us so many invaluable tips for why self-care is so important and how to actually fit it in so that we can be who we want to be for those we love. If you're excited, give this video a thumbs up and make sure to stay tuned to the very end because you don't want to miss a minute of it. Hi, Daniela. Welcome to this YouTube channel. I'm so grateful that you could be here, and I would love for you to please take a minute and introduce yourself to my subscribers.
Hi, Amber. Thank you so much. So I'm Daniela Wolfe from Bestie Life, helping you find the bliss in your busy. I've been a social worker for over 20 years and recently have switched into being a life balance mentor as well. And what that means, people are like, well, what is a life balance mentor? I help busy women and moms create customized self-care and stress management strategies to, just live a more balanced and happy life. I think we found, especially over 2020, that as moms and women, we take on so much, probably almost everything when it comes to managing the households, taking care of the kids. Now we're homeschooling, we might be working full time, and we put a lot on our plates and we don't always remember to take care of ourselves, and that I think even through my own experiences, I did hit a period in my life where I was trying to do it all and manage it all and wasn't maybe taking the best care of myself. And I found, by being able to integrate these habits and routines, and they're not, big things, but little changes every day can make a huge, huge difference in how I show up, not only for myself, but for my family.
I love that. I first and foremost love that you customize plans because I have learned this the hard way myself that what works at one time doesn't necessarily work indefinitely. Life changes, our situation, fluctuates. And like you were saying, in the midst of 2020, we then have all these extra things that have gotten piled on. And so maybe we had a self-care routine and it's gone out the window. And I struggle with exactly what you said, right? Making time for myself when in reality, we have to take care of ourselves so we can be who we want to be for those we love. And it's an ongoing an ongoing journey to fit self-care in as a busy mom. I am so thrilled that you can be here and talk to us about this today because it's totally your forte, totally your expertise. If I may, let's just start out with a definition of self-care. Like what do you how do you define self-care, or what would you put into that realm for someone that is like, okay, well, I know I should be doing self-care, but what is self-care?
Right. And it's definitely those activities and those things you intentionally do to take care of yourself. I posted a funny meme as one of my posts this weekend where, we take care of our phone battery better than we take care of our own self, when it comes to recharging and all those things. But I think a lot of times there's a misperception when it comes to self-care that it needs to be, a big expensive thing, or it needs to be a massage day or a girls getaway. And it's these huge events when in fact, it's these smaller, maybe more intentional pockets throughout our day, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And it can look very different. Like I said, it's custom for everybody because everyone's personality is different, everyone's lifestyle is different. And so what helps you feel better is going to look a little bit different. I think self-care is broader than what people think it is. I kind of cover these 10 different areas. And so self-care covers everything from the way you dress and how comfortable and confident you feel during the day, to the way you decorate your home. Do you feel calm and relaxed? Do you walk in, or are you cluttered and having, feeling crowded and like it's not a comfortable, safe space? The way you move, do you fit fitness into your day? Do you eat healthy? How does food make you feel? What kind of connections and relationships do you have? How is money in your life, and what kind of stress does that impose, and how do you feel about money? Your overall mindset when it comes to being to adapt and pivot to things. And I don't think I hit all 10 now that I'm rattling off the top of my head, but I mean, it's so much more. And so being able to, put a couple systems and different things in place and intentionally see them as a form of self-care, even just, the way you have your coffee for 10 minutes in the morning, is it a grab and go, or can you actually just sit and enjoy it for a minute? Do you smell it when you first put it in your cup? Like there's just a lot of little things that can really help you have that mindful moment and get that benefit of self-care throughout your day.
Totally. You mentioned so many things that
I
I
am
wouldn't have
sorry.
really thought about in terms of self-care, but then as you were saying them, it makes so much sense. And again, from my own experience, I've really learned the hard way how things like my environment and what's going on in my home affect me mentally and emotionally. And so I've shared on my channel before, but a few years ago, especially trying to juggle mom life with my 3 young kids and full-time job and all this other stuff going on, like I was so overwhelmed because there was stuff everywhere. I couldn't keep up, and my house was constantly a mess. My kids were constantly making more of a mess. And I was really just going crazy because I didn't know like where to start. And one of the biggest things that made a difference for me was simplifying like
Mhm,
my house, right? Decluttering, getting rid of stuff, and simplifying then how much I cared about the level of mess that accumulated on any given day, and giving myself permission to let dishes sit in the sink or not care if the toys were, picked up, or if my kids were then. I was trying to get them involved in picking things up instead of caring about everything being sorted perfectly and stuff like that.
mhm,
So that's a long-winded anecdote just to emphasize that that had a huge impact on how well I felt.
mhm.
And yeah, I completely agree now that that can be a good form of self care. And it's something that a lot of people haven't thought about. Same thing with the relationship with money. So, wow, I mean, I would love to just pick your brain on all of this stuff. Another question, as we'll kind of get more into this, is why is it that we moms struggle so much to make self-care a priority? I know that everybody knows we should be taking care of ourselves, and like my husband as well is constantly telling me you need to take better care of yourself. So
Mhm,
hopefully other people have positive influences in their life that are encouraging them to take care of themselves, but it's still so hard. Do
mhm.
you have any thoughts, or in all of your experience working with other moms, like why do women in particular seem to struggle with this? And that will then lead us into the next question on how we can change and be better.
I think, we do set sometimes super unrealistic expectations. I think this goes back even, I read a book where it talked about how, they talk about how women can have it all. You can, bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan. And, we put all these ands in of all these things we can do, but that doesn't necessarily mean we should do them all. But I don't think we allow ourselves to let anything go because we don't want to feel like we failed or we couldn't achieve or we weren't capable, and it doesn't necessarily mean that. But then, like you said, even when we have people saying, go ahead, you need to take care of yourself, you need to relax, when it comes down to it, then we feel guilty. And I know mom guilt is a huge thing that
You.
plays into this, because people think of all the shoulds. Well, I should do this, I should do that, I should be with my kids, not realizing that if we take that time to do things and, finding the time and allowing ourselves the time, as well as really working with our household to really look at our time as an entity, and not just what's left over. I think so many people working, both couples might be working from home, but how many of the dads are taking over the homeschooling and the cleaning and the cooking in addition to the moms? Thank you and kudos to all the dads that are. I think that's great. But I think a lot of times we do just add this on as one more thing. And so, it's a mindset shift. It's a whole mindset. When we talk about, I say finding more balance and happiness in your life, people say, oh, there's no such thing as balance. You can't have everything perfect. And I don't believe that is balance. I think balance is being able to see the toys on the floor and be okay with it, being able to not feel like we have to do everything and allowing ourselves the grace, to be able to accept what we can do, to be able to have that resiliency to pivot and adapt as things get thrown at us rather than having it overwhelm us, and that's that difference when it comes to recognizing what balance is, what self-care is. It's not perfection. It doesn't mean everything's in its neat little place and everyone's getting along and the kids aren't fighting and you're not stressed. It's how we kind of roll with it in a different way.
One of the things that I really struggled with a few years ago before simplifying my life and implementing some systems and all that kind of stuff was feeling like a failure, both because I couldn't do it all, right? I had thought I could, and then it was apparent that I couldn't. And then feeling like a failure for wanting to let things go and
Mhm.
failing or feeling unable to say no to something after I had said yes, and then it clearly wasn't working, but I felt like I couldn't let that thing go because I'd already committed to it. And so I just was really struggling with that sense of failure all around. And I would also, in my limited experience, throw in that I think everybody probably does this, but in my season of young mom life in particular, it was so easy for me to look at other women, other moms, and think that they had it all magically figured out, that they,
Mhm.
weren't struggling the way I was. And that made me feel so much worse and so much more alone. And it made it so much harder for me to ask for help because
Yeah.
I assumed something must be wrong with me, when in reality I now know a lot of things, including that our ability to do things changes according to the season of mom life that we are in.
Mhm.
Also that no matter how things look on the outside, you never know what someone's internal situation looks like. And also that there's such connection, such opportunity for a community that comes when we open ourselves up and are vulnerable about how much we are
Absolutely.
struggling, including struggling to care for ourselves, and that others, I just didn't know how much others really wanted to help me, to offer their advice, to lend a hand. And it was up to me to then ask for help and receive it, let myself, be helped, and realize that comparison is not helpful, and that perfection is completely an illusion, and
Yeah.
everybody struggles with their own different things. In your time working with all these women, have you found any one part of mom life, like any one season of mom life, more challenging than another? And I can only speak to my experience. My oldest is only 7, so I'm still very much in the throes of babies and diapers, and my oldest is sort of getting independent. But like, do you find that new moms struggle, or that the teenage years get especially hard, or does everybody just
I
struggle
think
with self-care?
everybody. I think that's the thing. People look with envy or whatever, whether it's from what they see on social media or whatever. Everyone puts their best face forward. Yet I think every time and every season has its own set of different struggles and challenges and things that people deal with. And so being able to be vulnerable, to show that we are all more alike than we are different, we all cope with similar things, is how we're going to be stronger, how we're going to be able to get through different things, and that's definitely a big piece of it.
Yeah. For me, finding some other moms that can relate to what I'm going through, and especially more, I call them advanced moms, right? That have sort of been there, done that. They can look back and just help me see that it's going to be okay, right? And the one important thing through it all is that we do take care of ourselves so that we can last and be there later on, and hopefully enjoy all the moments throughout. Uh,
Right.
awesome. So, what advice or guidance would you give someone wanting to squeeze more self care in?
Um, Definitely start small. I think the bigger you start, the more intimidating it's going to be, the more overwhelming it's going to be. Like I said, definitely part of it is reframing your mindset around self care. Because if you think you're going to have a spa day or go get a massage and that's going to be last even the week, I think that's setting yourself up for disappointment. It's kind of like, I've used the example, going to the gym or getting a membership and thinking you're going to lose 10 pounds. Like, it doesn't just work like that, where you know going once or showing up once is going to have that lasting effect. I think being intentional is very important to self-care. So it doesn't even matter what you do. There's no wrong way to take care of yourself, but your intention and how you think about it, it's going to make a bigger difference than what it is you actually do.
Cool, cool. Have you found, yeah, I mean, if you have a success story, or someone, not obviously no personal information, but some examples of women you've worked with, and the small changes that they made that then hopefully made a huge difference for them?
Yeah, I think, like I said, a lot of the women I've worked with, and even personally myself, I realize, like you see that intention alone makes a big difference in how you're going to feel about things. They start to notice things, and I think even that consistency of 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, they realize how much easier it is to fit in. And so they've been able to say, like, I didn't think that was self-care, but I've thought about it differently and now I feel better from it. Or, I had an extra 20 minutes and I could either go home and clean or I can sit outside and read. And I chose to read because I thought of it, And so sometimes it's just that pause where we think for a second that can help make that difference in how we use our time.
I love that because I have come to see that a lot of things I enjoy doing, I used to feel really guilty about, right? Because I, in theory, don't have time for them. But on the
Mhm.
other hand, someone pointed out to me that if I enjoy it, it's okay, right? We all need things that we get excited about, things that fill our own cup. And
Mhm.
so the more that I, as you're saying, have been intentional about seeing those kinds of activities as things I do for me, and that it's okay, it's actually really good for me to have something all my own apart from my identity as a mom, and apart from my identity at my job, and apart from my identity as a wife. Like, maybe I'm the only one like this, but I really got lost in that identity crisis after having kids and losing my sense of self, yeah, out of joy for the new life that was here in my arms. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's been a journey back to
You're not alone. So
rediscovering
many
who
women.
I am as myself.
Yeah, so many women I talk to say, "Oh, I used to do this. Oh, I gave up that because I didn't have time anymore." And we keep pushing ourselves further and further down on that list. But I know I can tell you, I feel guiltier if I, vent at my kids from having a bad day, or if I snapped at them for no reason, as opposed to if I took 15 minutes extra for myself to do something. When it comes to what's going to make me feel guiltier, think about it. Which one would you feel worse about? And so to really justify them, like, I'm going to give them a better mom, I'm going to be in a better place to really enjoy and be present with that time with my kids, as opposed to thinking about the conversation I have with my boss, or what do I got to do tomorrow, and all those other things. So sometimes taking a little extra time makes the time you have better.
I was a queen of making excuses for why I didn't have time for X, Y, and Z a few years ago. And it's been a lot to try and break through those myths and realize that I have time. I have to make the time, and I'm choosing how to spend my time.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious if you have advice for moms, busy moms that feel like they don't have time. Like,
Mhm.
how can they squeeze in time that they feel like, they, in other words, what,
Yeah.
not that there's a set formula for what you have to give up or anything like that, but I hear in my own head this constant refrain of, I don't have time for this, I don't have time. And even 10 minutes, right, or 5 minutes can feel like more than you have when you are looking around and you're seeing that dinner needs to be made, and you've got to, place this Amazon order, or you have to clean up this mess, and you have a kid getting into this closet, and there's a lot going on in our lives. So, any tips for really making that time and letting other things go?
Yeah, and I think, even like I said, sometimes just reframing the time you already have. Maybe you're sitting in traffic and you're driving from here to the grocery store, and reusing that time as more than just getting from A to Z, as far as like, okay, I'm going to maybe use this time to listen to a podcast, or I'm going to turn the radio off and listen to nothing and just be present with myself, or I'm going to, use that extra time as time for you, like, and really think about it differently. Like, that's when I get to listen to my audiobooks, or different things like that. So not always finding the time, but reusing the time you have in a better way, so that you get those little benefits, as well as finding more smaller pockets. One tip I share is to set a timer on your phone to maybe go off every 3, 4 hours, and just take 30 seconds to a minute and do deep breathing, the 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds out kind of thing. And just even 30 seconds to a minute of deep breathing 3 or 4 times a day can help lower your stress level, provide all those positive benefits, increase your memory, which I know mom brain is, I still have it sometimes. So, just being able to find those little pockets as well as reuse the time you have in a better way. And that's why sometimes it is so custom, because everyone's lives and what they're juggling is so different. There isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah, but you're right. Reframing things and kind of reconciling our expectations with what self-care
Mhm.
is, maybe how we wish we could take care of ourselves, with the reality that, we don't have endless time, but we can use these few minutes stuck in traffic for some self-care exercise. I love that. I love that idea. Would you share with us any times that you felt like you have struggled to take care of yourself, or a way that, you know, that not prioritizing self-care taught you an important lesson?
Yeah. When my kids were younger, like I had a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old. Unfortunately, I went through a divorce. So I was a single working mom with two very little kids, and I was not fantastic at asking for help. I wanted to show I'm strong, I can do this, I'm capable. I didn't need anybody, you know, to lean on and things like that. And I wasn't the best version. I was tired, I was irritable, I was exhausted. And so that was definitely a huge trigger for me and turning point to realize this isn't not only the mom I want to be, but this isn't the person I want my kids to know, and think of when they think of their mom. And so that's when I definitely made a lot of very intentional things. I joined a gym, and it's funny, I was even just talking at dinner last night with my son, like, oh, remember the room at, such and such a gym when you had, and he liked those things. And, while I saw it, like I felt bad putting him in maybe the childcare room at the gym, he loved it. It was a fun playroom for him. And just hear it from his perspective, even now he's 19 years old, like he didn't see it as a negative, and to think like our kids don't always view it from that same negative perspective that we feel so guilty about. For them, it's someplace new, it's new toys, it's new kids. I know with COVID now, all of that is so super different. But to maybe like in general, when we start to feel guilty, think, well, is that because of how I feel about it or how they feel about it? Because we look at everything from our perspective when it's not really all about us.
No, that's
But back to what you were saying, like, yeah, that was definitely like a hard time. And, I've grown, and I find, this is something I not only love personally for me, but I love to talk about, I love to share, I love to, help everyone see that this is so possible and doable in your everyday life.
I love that. I love that. It's so encouraging. And like, I mean, this year, right?
Hmm.
It has just made everything that much harder. But self-care, especially around the holiday season, how would you recommend that people care for themselves and cope with the challenges of 2020 as we're going into this holiday season where things look very different for all of us, and we can't connect with many of the people that we would love to see. We can't always go and do things that, we had
Hmm.
relied on as, as opportunities for self-care. Any tips for
Yeah.
that?
I think, even just acknowledging the grief that we're all feeling, whether we've lost someone or we've lost kind of our routines and our traditions and the way we would typically celebrate, being able to really acknowledge that feeling rather than try to stuff it down like, oh, I'm fine, it'll be okay. It might be okay, but we can still be sad. We can still express that and share that, whether we journal, whether we talk to somebody, whether we just personally reflect, like however you choose to acknowledge a feeling is kind of what helps to release it and not let it have that control over focusing on what you're missing out on versus what you have. And that leads me to gratitude. I think during the holiday season is a big part of it. I shared a quote once, and it's not original, but to fill your heart with what you have versus things, to really appreciate the people and the things that are still here versus focusing on what is missing
Yes,
is a
those
big part
are
of that.
such helpful tips. Thank you. I could talk to you
I
forever.
know. I love talking
I
to
love
you.
this, but where can people find you to get more information and to learn more about what you do?
Yeah. So I have a website. It's bestdlife.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I love chatting with people. So if you ever want to leave me a comment, shoot me a DM or set up a free call, I'd love to talk. Even on my website, there's a free quiz to start to kind of see where is your self-care at. Kind of get a gauge and have that awareness for, are you in a great place? Do you want a little extra help? I think realizing that asking for help is a strength and is a superpower, and allowing ourselves to do that just like we would, meet with a trainer if we were going to start a fitness routine, meet with a nutritionist if we were looking to eat healthy. It's okay to have people help us do these things because no one teaches us, So
Awesome. Well, I will put links to all of those things in the description so that you guys can all go check it out. Daniela, thank you so much for your time. I adore connecting with you and all the things we have in common. So I really hope that everyone watching found this as helpful as I did. Self-care is so, so important. It's so easy to push aside, but we just reap so many rewards when we put ourselves first so we can then be who we want to be for our loved ones. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I hope you found all of those tips as helpful as I did. I would love if you'd comment down below and let me know the self-care activity that you are going to be doing more of in order to really prioritize yourself. And then don't forget to check out the description for some of the resources that Daniela mentioned and more information about her. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos all about ways that we can live a more purposeful and productive life. My whole mission is to help you free up more time for who and what you love. That's yourself included. So hope you have a great day. I'll see you back next week with another video. Thanks for watching.